Hello, I'm Pete Martin, longtime mandolinist and private lesson teacher. In this video, we will continue from video 76, covering what to practice to get comfortable in a new or unfamiliar key. Make sure you can do the material in video 76 before tackling this video. To get the accompanying PDF file, see the description below. Ask any questions you have in the comments section. I don't teach this material the way Barry did, and it will probably bother some Barry purists. I have a way of describing these sounds that makes more sense to me, and I think it is easier to remember. Thus I show it this way. I also observed one thing in Charlie Parker's playing that Barry doesn't mention anywhere that I've seen, so I will show this as well. One of the ideas Barry observed when learning from the recordings of Bud Powell and Parker was their use of chromatic phrases in many places. Bebop players used this more than swing players of earlier times. There are a few things I need to cover before getting going here. One thing I've observed in all the music styles I've studied is when soloing, improvisers very often play a note of the chord on the beat. This makes sense, as in most music styles, the rhythm section is playing chords on the beat, or at least implying them. If an improviser plays a note of the chord at the same time, their sound matches the rhythm section, and it sounds like they fit together. Another observation. A jazz major chord is a sixth or major seventh chord. They both function in progressions as major chords, they just have slightly different color, but generally either one works. I have noticed in many early bebop recordings, I hear pianists and guitarists often playing sixth chords as major chords. In Barry's chording method, he thinks of his major chords as the sixth chord, so A flat sixth in the key of A flat. An A flat sixth chord is spelled 1, 3, 5, and 6 with the notes A flat, C, E flat, and F. For these extra note rules, whenever I say major chord, I mean a sixth chord and these notes. One last observation. When soloing in bebop, scales are much more often descending. So in all examples I'm using descending scales, but these ideas also work on ascending scales. Major extra half step rule number 1 is, when starting on the beat, play all eighth notes and starting on a chord tone of the major chord, which is 1, 3, 5, or 6, you add one extra half step between 6 and 5. Notice when I do this, the notes that fall on the beat are 1, 3, 5, and 6. I do this starting on 1 A flat, 3 C, 5 E flat, and 6 F in example 1. For getting comfortable playing an A-flat major, we should practice this scale from high to low and back in first position. We see this in example 2. The next major chord extra half step rule is when starting on a chord tone, we can add 3 extra half steps between 6 and 5, 3 and 2, and 2 and 1. This puts the 9 on the beat as well, which is a common extension in a major chord. This is the next thing to practice in the key of A flat. See this in example 3. when starting on a non-chord tone, the rule is insert no extra half steps. Then when a chord tone falls on the beat, revert to one of the two rules for starting the chord tone on the beat. Here I start on the 2 of A flat major, the note B flat. I descend the scale until I land on 5, then I continue adding 3 extra half steps. See this in example 4. The next rule is when starting on a non-chord tone, 2, 4, or 7, descend adding 2 extra half steps between 2 and 1 and 6 and 5. Just like before, when you land on a chord tone on the beat, you revert to those rules of chord tone on a beat. In example 5, I start on 2 or B flat, add an extra half step between 2 and 1. Now I have 1 on the beat, so I descend adding 3 extra half steps. See this in example 5. Now the item that Barry didn't teach. If I start on 7, the note G, I can add 4 extra half steps between 7 and 6, 6 and 5, 3 and 2, and 2 and 1. I've seen this a handful of times in Charlie Parker solos I've transcribed. See this in example 6. You should practice the A-flat major scale with all the extra half-step combinations, starting on chord tones and non-chord tones. In video 10 of this series, I went through some phrases Barry calls 5-4-3-2, as seen in the link above. Review those now. I'm not going to teach those again, but you should practice them in A-flat major as well. See these in example 7. 5, 4, 3, 2. 5, 4, 3, 2. In video 7, we learned what Barry calls pivoting. You can review this in the video above. You should practice pivoting chords in A-flat major. See this in example 8. Example 8, ascending. Example 8, descending. In video 11, we looked at Barry's chromatic scale. Review this in the link above. You should practice the chromatic scale for A-flat major. See this in example 9. Barry's chromatic scale puts the notes of the A major scale on the beat. Ascending chromatic scale. these last two videos, we have seen a number of things to practice to get comfortable in a key. If you do this, you will get comfortable with the new key. I personally every day choose a key and go through all of these as part of my warm-up. Have fun! I have several videos showing how to make lines from the ideas shown in this series for silver level, which is $5 per month and above patrons. Check these out at my Patreon channel, patreon.com/PeteMartin. Please subscribe, click the bell for notifications, click like, and leave a nice comment as a sacrifice to the algorithm. If you like what you are learning, I ask that you consider supporting my efforts on my Patreon page. Member privileges include early access to videos, exclusive Patreon-only videos and articles, monthly Q&A live stream, and a monthly private lesson. A special thanks to these supporters. You can do this and get a shout out too at patreon.com/PeteMartin. And I'll see you on the next one.